Welcome to an in-depth exploration of one of the most impactful books of all time, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. If you've ever wondered what it takes to truly connect with others, build lasting relationships, and become someone people genuinely like and trust, then you're in the right place. Imagine walking into any room, any situation, and immediately making a positive impression not through manipulation or coercion, but through understanding, empathy, and respect. This book isn't just a guide, it's a roadmap for transforming how you interact with the world. First published in 1936, How to Win Friends and Influence People has sold millions of copies worldwide, and for good reason. The principles Dale Carnegie shares are timeless, working just as well today as they did nearly a century ago. What makes this book truly powerful is its simplicity. Carnegie doesn't just tell you what to do. He shows you how small, thoughtful actions can profoundly impact your relationships and your life. Throughout this audiobook summary, we'll break down these principles and explore how you can apply them in your everyday interactions. We'll dive into real-world examples, analyze the psychology behind Carnegie's advice, and give you practical tips you can start using right away. Whether you're looking to improve personal relationships, advance in your career, or become a better, more compassionate communicator, this summary has something for you. So sit back, relax, and let's embark on this journey together. By the end, you'll have the tools you need not just to win friends and influence people, but to do so in a way that's authentic, meaningful, and lasting. Fundamental techniques in handling people. We begin with the foundational techniques crucial for handling people effectively. These principles might seem straightforward, but their application requires thoughtful consideration and consistent practice. Carnegie starts with a powerful message: don't criticize, condemn, or complain. It's natural to point out faults and express dissatisfaction, but Carnegie warns that this approach often backfires. When criticized, people tend to become defensive, justifying their actions rather than reflecting on them. Criticism often feels like a personal attack, even when well-intentioned. Consider a workplace scenario where a manager criticizes an employee's performance in front of others. The employee is likely to feel humiliated and demotivated, leading to resentment and decreased productivity. Instead, Carnegie suggests focusing on positive reinforcement, highlighting what the person is doing right, and gently guiding them toward improvement. This approach preserves the individual's dignity and fosters a more supportive and cooperative environment. Next, Carnegie emphasizes the importance of honest and sincere appreciation. In a world quick to find fault, genuine appreciation stands out. It's not about empty flattery, but about recognizing and valuing others' contributions and efforts. When you express sincere appreciation, you acknowledge the person's worth, which strengthens your relationship and builds trust. Imagine a leader who regularly acknowledges their team's hard work. This recognition boosts morale and motivates continued performance. Ensure that your appreciation is specific and genuine. Instead of simply saying, "You did a great job," you could say, "I really appreciate how you handled that difficult client with such patience and professionalism. It made a significant difference." Carnegie's third fundamental technique is to arouse in the other person an eager want. This principle is rooted in empathy, understanding others' desires and motivations. To influence someone effectively, frame your ideas to align with their interests and goals. For example, if you're trying to persuade a colleague to take on a challenging project, rather than focusing on why it's important to you, emphasize how the project could provide them with valuable experience, showcase their skills to senior management, and potentially lead to future opportunities. By aligning your request with their personal goals, you make it more compelling and increase the likelihood of enthusiastic cooperation. 6 ways to make people like you. The second part of Carnegie's book offers 6 key strategies for making people like you, an essential aspect of building strong, positive relationships. One of the most effective ways to connect with others is to become genuinely interested in them. People can sense when your interest is authentic versus when it's merely superficial. By taking the time to learn about others, asking meaningful questions, and listening attentively to their answers, you show that you value them as individuals. In a social setting, this might mean asking someone about their hobbies, family, or recent experiences, and truly engaging in the conversation rather than waiting for your turn to speak. This kind of interaction creates a bond, making the other person feel valued and understood. Another simple yet powerful tool for making a positive impression is to smile. A smile is a universal gesture of goodwill and can instantly make you appear more approachable and friendly. It's not just about the physical act of smiling, it's about embodying a positive and open attitude that others can sense. Consider the difference between entering a room with a stern expression versus entering with a warm smile. The latter immediately puts others at ease and sets a positive tone for any interaction that follows. Smiling can also have a profound impact on your mood and the atmosphere of the environment you're in. Carnegie also highlights the importance of remembering and using people's names. A person's name is deeply personal, and hearing it in conversation can create a sense of recognition and respect. By remembering names and using them naturally in conversation, you show that you see the other person as an individual, not just another face in the crowd. In professional settings, taking the time to remember the names of colleagues, clients, and associates can go a long way in building rapport. For example, when meeting someone for the first time, try repeating their name a few times during the conversation. This helps reinforce your memory and makes the other person feel acknowledged. Being a good listener is another critical skill that Carnegie emphasizes. In today's fast-paced world, true listening is rare and valuable. When you listen actively, you're not just waiting for your turn to speak. You're fully engaged in what the other person is saying, responding thoughtfully, and showing empathy. Active listening involves maintaining eye contact, nodding to show you're following along, and asking clarifying questions when needed. This type of listening makes the other person feel heard and valued, which is crucial in building strong, lasting relationships. When conversing with others, it's also important to talk in terms of their interests. People are naturally more engaged when the conversation revolves around topics they care about. This principle is about aligning your discussions with the other person's passions and concerns. For instance, if you know a colleague is passionate about environmental sustainability, you could discuss new initiatives in your company that align with those values. By focusing on what matters to them, you not only keep the conversation engaging, but also strengthen your connection. Finally, Carnegie advises making the other person feel important and doing it sincerely. Everyone wants to feel valued and appreciated. When you recognize someone's worth in a genuine way, it creates a powerful bond. This principle is about treating others with the respect and appreciation they deserve. Whether in personal or professional relationships, taking the time to acknowledge someone's contributions, skills, or character can have a lasting impact. The key is to ensure your appreciation is heartfelt and specific, as people can easily detect insincerity. How to win people to your way of thinking. In the third part of the book, Carnegie delves into strategies for influencing others and winning them over to your way of thinking without resorting to force or coercion. He suggests that the best way to win an argument is to avoid it altogether. Arguments are often unproductive because they create defensiveness and entrenchment. Even if you win the argument, you might lose the person's goodwill and trust. Instead of engaging in heated debates, Carnegie advises finding common ground and steering the conversation in a positive direction. This might involve acknowledging the other person's point of view and expressing a willingness to understand it before presenting your perspective. Respect is a cornerstone of effective communication, and Carnegie emphasizes the importance of showing respect for others' opinions. Telling someone directly that they are wrong is likely to put them on the defensive, closing off any possibility of productive dialogue. Instead, express your perspective in a way that respects the other person's viewpoint. For example, you might say, "I can see why you might think that, and I've considered that point of view as well. However, here's another angle that I believe is worth exploring. This approach keeps the conversation open and respectful. When you realize you've made a mistake, Carnegie advises admitting it quickly and emphatically. Admitting your errors can be disarming, earning you respect and trust. It shows that you're human, humble, and willing to take responsibility for your actions. For example, if you've made a wrong decision at work, promptly acknowledging the mistake and taking steps to correct it can prevent the situation from escalating and maintain your credibility with your team. Starting conversations on a positive note is another strategy Carnegie advocates. Begin in a friendly way to set the tone for the interaction. When you approach someone with warmth and positivity, they're more likely to be receptive to your ideas. In negotiations, starting with common ground or expressing genuine appreciation for the other person's perspective can pave the way for more constructive discussions. This approach helps create a cooperative atmosphere where both parties feel valued. Carnegie also suggests getting the other person to say yes early in the conversation. By finding points of agreement at the outset, you create a positive momentum that makes it easier to reach consensus on more significant issues later on. For example, if you're negotiating a deal, you might start by highlighting areas where both parties already agree. This builds a sense of collaboration and makes it easier to navigate more challenging aspects of the negotiation. Another effective strategy is to let the other person do most of the talking. People like to feel heard, and by allowing them to express their thoughts and ideas, you make them feel valued. This approach also provides valuable insights into their perspective, making it easier to address their concerns and find common ground. In a team setting, for example, encouraging team members to share their ideas and actively listening to them fosters a more inclusive and collaborative environment. Allowing the other person to feel that the idea is theirs can also be incredibly powerful. When people feel ownership of an idea, they're more likely to support it enthusiastically. This might involve framing your suggestions in a way that makes the other person feel they're contributing to the solution. For instance, instead of dictating a course of action, you might say, "What do you think of this approach?" Your insight could really help us refine it. This approach empowers the other person and fosters a sense of collaboration. From here, Carnegie emphasizes trying honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. Empathy is crucial in understanding what drives others and how they perceive the situation. By putting yourself in their shoes, you can tailor your approach to address their concerns and motivations more effectively. For example, if a colleague seems resistant to a new project management tool, understanding their concerns, perhaps they find it too complex or fear it will disrupt their workflow, and help you address those issues and find a solution that works for everyone. Appealing to nobler motives is another powerful technique. People like to see themselves as acting out of high principles. By framing your requests in a way that appeals to their values, you can inspire them to act in ways that align with their self-image. For example, if you're encouraging someone to participate in a community service project, you might appeal to their sense of social responsibility and desire to make a positive impact. Dramatizing your ideas can also make them more compelling. People are more likely to remember and be persuaded by ideas presented in a vivid, engaging way. This might involve using stories, metaphors, or visual aids to bring your point to life. For instance, if you're proposing a new marketing strategy, sharing a success story from another company or creating a visual representation of the potential impact can make your proposal more memorable and persuasive. Finally, Carnegie advises throwing down a challenge to motivate others. People are often motivated by competition and the desire to excel. By framing a task as a challenge, you can inspire them to rise to the occasion and give their best effort. For example, if you're leading a sales team, you might set a challenging yet achievable target and frame it as a team goal, encouraging everyone to contribute their best to meet the challenge. Be a leader. How to change people without giving offense or arousing resentment. In the final part of the book, Carnegie explores how to lead and influence others in a way that inspires change without causing offense or resentment. One of the key principles he discusses is the importance of beginning with praise and honest appreciation when addressing areas for improvement. This approach softens the blow of criticism and makes the person more receptive to your feedback. For example, if you need to address an employee's performance issue, start by acknowledging their strengths and contributions before gently guiding them toward the area that needs improvement. Calling attention to people's mistakes indirectly is another effective strategy. Instead of pointing out errors directly, which can cause embarrassment and defensiveness, you might suggest a better approach or ask a question that leads the person to realize their mistake on their own. For example, if a team member has missed an important detail in a report, you could ask, "How do you think we could make sure this report covers all the key points?" This approach encourages the person to reflect on their work and identify areas for improvement without feeling attacked. Carnegie also advises talking about your own mistakes before criticizing others. By acknowledging your own shortcomings, you create an atmosphere of humility and openness, making it easier for others to accept feedback. For instance, if you're providing feedback on a project, you might say, "I remember when I was working on something similar, I overlooked a few details that ended up being important. Let's make sure we don't make the same mistake here." This approach shows that you're not perfect and that everyone, including yourself, has room for improvement. Asking questions instead of giving direct orders is another powerful leadership technique. This approach allows others to take ownership of their tasks and encourages them to think critically about the best way to approach a challenge. For example, instead of saying, "Do this task by Friday," you might ask, "How do you think we can best meet this deadline?" This question empowers the person to take responsibility for finding a solution, fostering a sense of autonomy and initiative. Letting the other person save face is also crucial in maintaining positive relationships, especially in leadership roles. If someone makes a mistake, it's important to address the issue in a way that preserves their dignity. For example, if an employee has made an error, you might discuss it privately rather than in front of others and frame the conversation in a way that focuses on finding a solution rather than placing blame. Praising the slightest improvement and praising every improvement can be incredibly motivating. When people receive positive reinforcement, no matter how small the achievement, they're more likely to continue striving for success. For example, if a team member shows progress in a skill they've been working on, acknowledge it immediately. This reinforcement encourages continued effort and growth. Carnegie also emphasizes giving the other person a fine reputation to live up to. This principle involves expressing confidence in the person's abilities and potential. By setting high expectations and showing that you believe they can meet them, you inspire them to rise to the occasion. For instance, if you're mentoring someone, you might say, "I know you have the skills and dedication to excel in this role, and I'm confident you'll succeed." This statement not only boosts their confidence, but also motivates them to live up to the positive image you've created. Using encouragement and making the fault seem easy to correct is another effective strategy. When people believe that improvement is possible and within their reach, they're more likely to take action. For example, if someone is struggling with a task, you might say, "You're really close to getting this right, just a few small adjustments, and you'll be there." This approach makes the challenge seem manageable and encourages them to keep trying. Finally, Carnegie advises making the other person happy about doing the thing you suggest. This principle is about framing requests in a way that aligns with the other person's desires and goals. For example, if you're asking someone to take on additional responsibilities, you might highlight how this opportunity could help them develop new skills, gain recognition, or advance their career. By aligning your request with their interests, you make it more appealing and increase the likelihood of enthusiastic cooperation. Please don't forget to subscribe for more contents with us all about movies.